And hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good Saturday morning to you. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discussed the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. Certainly a lot of interesting things that went down the pike this week, a few more interesting things to come up for Sunday and Saturday, and certainly we'll get into all those as we are a threesome up here today for the podcast. Case Hoskins driving back from a well-earned vacation for he and his lovely wife Lindsay. They went down to Myrtle Beach to have a nice week in the sun and surf. And I would assume that they probably went through Conway, South Carolina on their way there and way back. Conway, of course, being the home of Coastal Carolina, where the ACC played a women's basketball tournament several years ago. There were 3 hotels in Conway, and I stayed at the worst one, and it is 4 days I'll never forget. Believe me. Lucky to get out of there with my life. So, well, that Jared, he is already on his way or is already at Cardinal Stadium for football today, in addition to supplying those great photos for us on women's sports. He also goes and takes pictures at football games. Usually selfies with drunk fans, but other than that, he does a good job for that as well. So, with those two out, we do have Jeff in the house. We also have Daryl in the house, as well as me, Polly, to have a fun-filled hour with you as we talk about Daryl waking up and drinking coffee. And Cardinal sports and other things as well. So, we'll kind of get into that. And so Daryl, this is getting to be quite the busy thing for you. You did an article on Friday. You're with us on the broadcast today on Saturday. What can we have you do tomorrow?
Well, I'll try to tune in for the field hockey match at noon, I guess. If it's available, I think we had a group chat going saying it's probably not going to be on mainstream.
The
Big
lovely
10 plus.
Big Ten and their plus, which they want you to sign up to watch it and pay you them money. I think the cheapest I could find was a $9.95 viewing of it. And that, if you have never used them as a trial, unfortunately I did back in basketball season, you can get a week's free trial of the Big Ten Network Plus. But you got to really stay on them and make sure you cancel before that week's up. Otherwise, they will charge you. So,
And I wonder if they keep track because I might have already done that before in my lifetime.
well, I did it real early in basketball season last year,
Yeah, that sounds right.
and they got me on it.
Yeah.
They said, no, you've used your free trial. I'm like, but wait a second, I've transcended into a whole different human being now.
It's been a whole year.
Yes, a lot of things have happened since then, but no, so it's the only option on that, unfortunately. But so what's been going on beside that, Daryl? You're going to try to catch a little bit of that women's soccer in action tomorrow as well, and how are things going with you otherwise?
Doing good, back in business, working full time downtown. And Polly, some of the other details, but just trying to get back in the swing of things and find some things to be excited about.
Poor Daryl, she missed Powerball by one number and was really excited about it.
I was ready to retire.
Yeah, she was ready just to buy Cardinal Couple outright and rename it Daryl's Corner. Yeah, and then run everything with it.
I can think of worse.
Yeah, I can too.
Huh?
The plans imploded right in front of me.
That's right. There was that last number. She had a 33, 32 popped up. And she's like, damn the luck. Anyway, so good things going on with Daryl. Jeff was talking to me a little earlier about Dungeons and Dragons. My gosh, how long has it been since you've heard that? A game I used to play, believe it or not, back in the medieval days of college for me, when it was, I think it kind of in its infancy. And from what I understand, Jeff was telling me they've got a pretty good online thing going with that now, and the game has evolved quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a number of different groups that stream. They call it live play. They're Dungeons and Dragons games that are interesting for me as purely as a kind of a pop culture intrigue. I don't watch them because I don't have that many hours of the day available. But some of them are kind of interesting. One of the really big ones, it turns out, is a bunch of voice actors out of L.A. And one of the actors on the show, she does voice acting, is originally from Mount Washington. So it was like,
Nice.
interesting. So
Fun
And
fact.
you wondered what happened to Lindsay Duvall. Now you know. No, I'm just kidding. I think the last time I played Dungeons and Dragons, I think I had my head cut off by a circular saw in a deserted shopping mall. So that was it for me. Did you ever play that, Daryl? Did you?
I don't get into those video games.
oh, it's not video; it's tabletop.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
is.
role play. Yeah,
I also rarely get into those.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's past Monopoly, I'm usually not going to play. But I have been known to play a pretty mean hand of from time to time. So look out there. As for me, just kind of a week watching UofL activities and sports like that. Several doctor's appointments I went to, and then there's nothing worse than going to a doctor's appointment and get in there nice and early, thinking, okay, maybe I can get in when I'm actually scheduled to, and then sit in, and it's 15 minutes past my time, it's 30 minutes past the time. Finally, your name gets called. They go back, they take your blood pressure, and they say, all right, go back and sit in the lobby. We'll call you when we're ready for you. And you're like, what? I'm already back here. Come on, give me a break. Such is our medical profession these days. But lots of fun lined up for you today. We'll kind of start it out as we normally like to do with our scheduling and Twitter information. I'll go to Case. No. Jared will jump. No. Boy, it's down to me and Jeff. Jeff said that he would gallantly step forward and take this composite schedule reading for me. And I thank him from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, a bit of a throwback. I haven't done scheduling on Twitter in a while, but let's dive in. We got both tennis teams, both men and women, are in action today at various places. The women are in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. It's listed as the All-American event. Exactly sure what the meaning of that is. Of course, we got football this afternoon at 3, and then swimming is involved both men and women in the SMU Classic in Dallas, Texas. Teams doing well. Both teams, I think, were in second place after yesterday, so after the first day's events. Tennis goes on through, tomorrow. And softball will finish up their fall play tomorrow starting at noon. I mentioned this in the article. It's a intra-squad scrimmage, red and black scrimmage. So you can go and cheer for both teams. So that's a lot of fun. They played Bellarmine yesterday, so that's another place where I kind of cheer for both teams. Getting a bit love for Bellarmine. Field hockey. This is kind of maybe the big game of the day. Probably nationally. Field hockey at number 2, Michigan. Of course, our UofL field hockey ranked number 3. That's up in Ann Arbor. It is only on Big Ten Plus, as we were mentioning, so very difficult to get streaming on that. Volleyball continues conference weekends, welcoming in Syracuse and former UofL head coach Leonid Yellen. 1 o'clock start on that. This one should be on ACC Network Extra, unless they pull a switcheroo on us again. So we'll see what team shows up from Syracuse. That'll be interesting. Women's soccer also starts at 1. They're hosting NC State at Dr. Mark and Cindy Lynn Stadium on Floyd Street. Not sure where Jared will be. He may split time between those. I don't know what he'll do for pictures. So let's see. Monday, women's golf plays. That continues through Tuesday. Then jumping to next weekend on Friday. Tennis plays at the West Virginia University Invite in Morgantown, obviously. Field hockey heads up to Boston College for a 1 o'clock start on Friday. No, I don't have listing on it. I'm assuming that will be ACC Network Extra. Women's soccer hosts Boston College here at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock start on that one. Again, presumably ACC Network Extra. Volleyball heads out on the road. They're going to Virginia Tech at Blacksburg. That one should not be competitive, to be honest. But presumably we'll be able to catch that one on ACC Network Extra as well. Let's see. Anything early next Saturday? Cross country is going to be in College Station, Texas, for an all-day event. Probably morning. So, yeah, that covers scheduling for the week. Not too crazy busy. There's a lot, but not insane. Um, so Twitter accounts. I'm Jeff McAdams is my main one that I use. I still have Card Couple Radio. I haven't used it in a while. Been too busy being a fan. Paulie, of course, tweets as at Cardinal Couple. Daryl is at Daryl Faust 4. Case is best case scenario, BST case scenario. And Jared is Mr. Anderson Jared. Also, check out Jared on Instagram, is probably a wise choice as well, where you can see a lot of his pictures he posts there. He is, let me double check because I don't look at that as often. You might know what his Instagram is.
I have no
Yeah.
clue.
DA photography.
Yeah, JDA Photography 1994. Was he born
That
in
sounds right.
1994? Am I old?
Golly,
Certainly he wasn't just born in 1994.
holy cow! I've got socks older than that.
Yeah.
Jeez, come on.
Oh, wait. Okay. Anyway, JDA, Jared, I don't know his middle name. JDA for Jared Anderson.
Jared Daniel and his.
I was
He's a
gonna
great-
say
remember correctly.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Photography 1994. He has a lot of great pictures on there. A lot of sports, other people that he does photo shoots with. So, yeah, check it out. See a lot of the pictures he takes at the events. Too.
Jared Doppler Anderson. His parents were big weather fans and
Right.
decided to give him a middle name after a weather tracking system. I thought he might try to maybe jump in today, but he's busy right now trying to find a place to park and then getting over and for football, because they have to go through the whole rigmarole and routine. They give them these little pullover jerseys they have to wear if they're photographers, so with a number on them. So I guess they can be identified first of all as photographers, and second of all if there's a complaint. All somebody has to do is say number 432. He was taking pictures of somebody's butt crack or whatever. But no, they used to. I don't know if they've resumed doing this or not, gang. But they used to years ago. They used to have a really nice spread of food up there for them for the football media types that go to Cardinal Stadium. We thought that basketball was good, women's basketball. Women's basketball is like a fast food restaurant compared to the spread out they put out for football for these folks. I mean, that's fantastic. I would starve myself. I got to go once, and I was so stuffed when I left there. I'm like, holy cow, this is nice. Why can't we get nice things, Daryl, at women's basketball? How come we
You
can't
just want
get
us to
good food?
starve, Paul.
It's pretty much it.
I think there's a degree of how many people are involved too.
Possibility, yeah. Because there's obviously more there to do football than there are for women's basketball or for men's basketball. But
I remember a couple of years ago, Doris Burke was at the little drink station down at Yum, and she was complimenting like the tea selection we had, and she like making it seem like that she doesn't get that everywhere else either. So maybe we're just a little spoiled here, Paul.
I think that's probably it. Because after all, if you've ever been to the concession stand of Virginia Tech, it's a whole new world of experience for you. Where they
Good, bad.
They look at you and they say, "You want butter on that popcorn or not?"
You're just like the rest of them.
What kind of drink you want? Moonshine or water? Which one for you? No, I've been to several venues for away women's basketball, and by far, the University of Louisville definitely has the best pregame spread I've seen, and certainly takes good care of the media types once they get in there and get a chance to eat. Cold chicken tenders and flat soft drinks are not the way to impress your media base. Unnamed school in the ACC. I'll leave it at that. Okay. But enough of that. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today, so let's go ahead and jump right on into it. And why not start with what happened last night? Volleyball. That's right, in the KFC Cup. Boy, All of a sudden, I've landed back in 2012. Oh no, what happened? No, at the LNFCU, the LNN Federal Credit Union, they brought in the Eagles from Boston College, not Joe Walsh and Don Henley and the musical band, but no, the university that plays volleyball. And the Cards had no trouble sweeping Boston College out of the door 25-14, 25-12, 25-10. If they had played a four set, my guess is it would have been 25-8. But I'm just playing the numbers game here. But Jeff McAdams was out there with having some fun watching it, leading the fans in the Cards chair, and he did get 5 minutes of actual television last night.
Yeah, well, 5 seconds maybe. Yeah.
Well, 5 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I say?
Yeah, they lingered a little bit on one of the breaks. So
They actually let you get through the D before
Yeah.
they get off on it.
yeah, and kind of held off on some of the music too that they usually start over top of it. So yeah, thankful for the people doing the direction there to give a little space for that. That's appreciated. So.
You're getting a rep.
Yeah, a little bit. So. Yeah, and we had Melanie McHenry joined in on one of them, so she was back. It was alumni night, and so she'd come over to chat with a little bit, and Jason Kennedy called a timeout, so I grabbed her, and said, "Come on." So she's gamely jumped down there. Turns out she doesn't know the arm motions, or was caught off guard perhaps for not having done it in a while. So, but yeah, she jumped up and cheered and yelled and got loud, so it was a lot of fun. So. And I knew Melanie would be game for doing that. So
as long as that third letter wasn't a T, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. It was a fun atmosphere. I don't think much of anybody really expected all that different of an outcome. I think maybe some people might have expected a little more competitive scores in the sets. Boston College is not a bad team. They're mid-pack ACC, which is being seen as a pretty good conference this year. They have improved year over year. I said this in the article that I wrote this morning, filled in this morning for Case. This is a team that has improved year over year for the past 4 or 5 years since Jason Kennedy took over as head coach. They keep getting better. You can't ask too much more of a team than that. Get better every year, and that's what they've done. Their finish every year has been slightly better. So credit to them for coming out and not giving up, playing hard, playing all the way through, but just outclassed. Lova's got so many weapons, so much talent that it was kind of a beat them down, really, honestly. But I want to be very respectful to Boston College. I have a lot of respect for what they're doing with that program as they continue to build it. So.
Darryl, when you take a look at volleyball, and if you're going to try to come up with a one-word description of the program, I come up with dominance, because that's kind of what they've been doing to people ever since the Kentucky match, and then even way before that. You got to figure the Cards have only been in 2 matches this year where the other team has put up a win of a set against them.
Mm-hmm.
The Cats had 2 wins. Arizona State
went to 5 in doing it, but
2 wins. Yeah, well, but still, think about that.
Yeah.
You're 15-0. 13-0 have been sweep out the door 3-set wins, Darryl. That spells dominance to me. What say you on it?
I would say my word is probably confidence. Just I know, Jeff, you said you were worried about saying too much about Boston College, but I think they're still licking their wounds over this one. The you see the stat sheet's so lopsided, and the Cards have reason to be confident. Like you said, that Kentucky match, able to win over the defending champs. Even watching UK win last year, I think gave UofL confidence that they can do it too. Like that team down the street can do it, we can do it. I know that the rivalry against Kentucky has been a little lopsided in years past, but it's still a good rivalry with a good measure of the talent that comes from the state and the competitiveness to compete with the rest of the ACC. And like Danny Busboom Kelly's been saying, that we need to get these better teams on our schedule to prove that we can hang with the best, and that's what they're doing. And every time I look up, it's a 3-0 sweep. It's insane. Anytime they sort of get down in a match or a set, I think they take a timeout, they collect themselves and realize, hey, we're not out of this thing. We can come right back and score 4 points in a row, 5 points in a row, and get back in this thing. That wasn't the case for the match last night, but if it ever were to come to that, I think that they're able to break down those mental breakdowns and get back in it.
And certainly do. And I think one of the things about Louisville volleyball is, let's take a look at some other sports. A question I get a lot about women's basketball is, who do you think will start for us? Okay, and then like I usually tell people, if you want to listen to Jeff Walls says it doesn't matter who starts; it's who I've got in there in a close game with 3 minutes to go. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
The thing with Louisville volleyball is that if you have a starting lineup, that's fine, but if you put in subs, it really doesn't change the equation
It
up that
really
much,
doesn't.
guys.
Yeah.
It's
It's
amazing.
this is a team that can go past the first stringers,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got subs coming in here. Example last night, and I'll probably miss a couple here. Emily Scott came in and did a great job.
Mhm.
Rachel DeMarcus gets in the game. We got to see Brooke Smith. Hadn't seen her for a while. Obviously, CC Russ was in there for a while. We had Nina Mambu.
Mbona. Mhm.
Mombono, yeah, something like that was in there, and it just goes down and down and further down the bench, or the standards. They don't really sit down in volleyball, but
Yeah.
when you've got something like that, Daryl, it's got to be a great position to be in as a coach to think to yourself, well, my eyes are a little bit off here, or maybe one of the Annas isn't quite having the game she should. I'll just send in. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. And
and
someone from the Arsenal.
we'll lose nothing, right? And
Yes, fresh legs.
it's got to be a great feeling.
Well, and to piggyback off of that, it's even if she didn't have those options, I've said it before about Anna Stevenson. I mean, I watched that girl jump as high as she can about 7 times in a row, and then she also gets the point. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm telling you, it was 7 jumps in a row as high as she can, and gets the kill. I
And,
just
and Anna Stevenson can almost touch 11 feet.
wow,
Right.
it's so much fun.
I
to
think
watch.
it's like 10, 11, I think is what I heard. So
I think you could pick out any player on the court at a time and just watch them
Yeah.
navigate their side, and you'll be entertained with just everything that's all the wheels in motion for this squad.
You just got to wonder where they're hiding the pogo stick, because that's
Right.
incredible to have that kind of hoppability, as they like to call it. Certainly
They
so.
pull it out from underneath the referee's seat.
Yeah, it's just like one of those little mini tramps, where people would jump on and say, "Hey, wait!" The Cards certainly came out. And as Jeff mentioned, Boston College, a team that was this mid-pack ACC as far as volleyball goes. But last night the Cards hit 480 against them in the first set. Boston College had as many errors as they did kills in the set for a 0-0-0 percentage. And when we look at the number 480, let's put it in terms of softball or baseball. If you're hitting 480 for a team, you're pretty good. You're probably starting.
That's
Yeah,
really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
480 volleyball.
I liked what Sean Moth and Patty Norton on the call last night. They said after the first set, they were talking about these numbers, and they said, you look at those hitting percentage numbers, you look at either of them, and you have a pretty good idea how the game went. If a team hits 0, they probably not win in that set. On the other side, a team hits 480, they probably won that set, right? You look the two of them together, then yeah, okay, that's pretty clear what happened there. 480 is an incredible number. I mean, you're looking at about a 300 for a team hitting percentage is considered good, right? As kind of a target. So 480 is amazing, really.
Yeah, incredible. And I'm surprised Patty was able to get that in between her oohs and ahs and eeks and oh wows and other very descriptive, long, lengthy.
I will admit I do that some in the stands, but I'm not doing color for.
Yeah, and it's, if I have any complaint about volleyball at all, it's why don't we have a good ex-player in there doing the color commentary?
I
Come on.
Patty does know the game very well, but yeah, I would love to
Yeah.
see a good X player in there. That I mean, and like the ACC network ones, the non ACC network extra ones, the linear channel ones, we usually get Jen Hoffman on that. So that's you know she's good.
I will not speak of these things any further.
Yeah,
But the Cards ended up, second set hit 250. That's still pretty decent. The Eagles went negative
yeah,
with a minus 091, and then
Ooh.
they actually
yeah,
got back to 103 in the third set. Whoopee! How about
yeah.
that? But the Cards put down 14 kills out of 20 attempts, error
20s.
free for an eye-popping 700 percentage. 700. Wow.
That is, yeah.
We use Patty's terms. Ooh. Oh my. Wow. Uh, yeah, 15-0, and an excellent play all around there. One of the things that when we talk about this mass of players that the Cards have and the interchangeability of all of them, sometimes Tori Dilfer gets a little bit left out of the conversation, but my gosh, what a job she does out there in the set.
No, no way. Tori is the ace on this squad when it comes to serving. That's who you want back there in that last set to minimize those errors. I think who I can't remember who was talking. Because I didn't get it on TV the other or last night or recently anyway either. Who was it? They were. I think it was both the Annas and then Tori got the shout out. So I don't think she's
Yeah.
being overlooked. Um, but yeah, she's definitely an anchor back there for the Cards when it comes to closing out any matches. And another thing I wanted to point out was looking at the rest of the schedule. Jeff, you could probably answer this better. I hope that the ACC picks up in terms of wins and having good matches for the Cards because it looks like the ranked matches for this team is just a little on the short side ending the season. Is that right?
Yeah. So the ACC nationally is the top conference in RPI
Mm-hmm.
at this point, and that should remain the same through the rest of the season. So yes, ranked teams. The only ranked teams we're going to face the rest of the way, most likely, unless somebody really surprises, is Pitt, and I think we play Georgia Tech again. So we'll play Pitt twice, and we have another match. We host Georgia Tech here, so those will be the only ranked teams we win. But I think our resume is solid at this point with Purdue, Kentucky, Nebraska, that stretch, um, and a couple other decent teams before that we played well. I think our resume is plenty strong for postseason play. But yeah, it would have been nice to get another ranked team in there.
Yeah,
Notre
and I realize
Dame
it's
might
not up
make
to
it
them
in.
if it's
Yeah,
ACC.
yeah. Notre Dame might make it into the rankings.
I hope
Syracuse
so.
might make it into the rankings. Probably not.
I
Not
just
after
don't
they
want
got
this team
spanked
to get
last night.
lax.
Yeah,
I don't
Oh,
want it to be cruise control for this team
right.
heading into postseason.
Well, I will say there's a lot of volleyball fans across the nation who have October 24th circled on their calendars
Okay.
because
certainly so.
Yep.
that's our first match against Pittsburgh. That is likely, assuming no major shakeups, likely to be a number two versus number three in the
Yeah.
nation. Right? Pitt's currently number two. You know, unless one of the three of us, Texas, Pitt, or us, loses somewhere along the way unexpectedly, that those should still be the rankings
Gotcha.
come 2 weeks from now.
And to kind of bolster themselves, since the ACC doesn't have a volleyball tournament at the
Right.
end of their schedule, but to get tuned up and certainly something that I will look forward to is the Cards in their final four matches play Notre Dame at Notre Dame, which is a team that is very cracking that top 25 maybe down the road. They do
Maybe
bring in
nobody knows what to do with Notre Dame yet.
that's for sure. They bring in Duke. Then at Pitt on the
Pitt.
24th,
Yeah.
and finishing up with Notre Dame at home on Friday, November the 26th. So four pretty challenging games, I think, for the Cards to end out that slate. And then, of course, they wait for the NCAA to do their assignments for the tournament.
Well, and even if you back it up one more game, you've got Georgia Tech as the
Yeah, a very good
yeah
team.
right. It's they're currently ranked 18th, right? They're a very good team. So yeah,
Our
that
sweep
that
to them didn't come easy.
no, no, certainly not. 36-34 in the second. No,
Yeah.
it's not easy. Dayton went 38-36 last night in one of their sets. So yikes. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, it's really a pretty decent, challenging schedule to close out the season there. So I agree.
Bringing in Sunday, Syracuse. As Jeff mentioned, former Cardinal coach Mr. Yellen will bring his orange into the LNFCU. Last night, kind of a rough night for the Orange up in South Bend as they
Yeah,
were.
they got run over by Notre Dame, a little surprisingly to a lot of people. Syracuse is a pretty decent team, and or can be. They've been really hit and miss this year. Some days they show up and play really well. Some days they show up and just don't play well at all. Um, and meanwhile, Notre Dame started out the season just terribly. They were losing games left and right, and just looked to be Keystone Cops out there. Started conference play. They went to Florida, played Florida State and Miami. That swing, lost both of those pretty badly, and then like a switch flipped or something, and all of a sudden they look pretty good. Um, Notre Dame hit 420 last night against Syracuse, and presumably went and got snacks afterwards. But it's I don't know what to make of either of these teams. It's definitely a case of which team is going to show up in both Syracuse and Notre Dame's case. So we'll find out Sunday what Syracuse does. Notre Dame's a little down the road for us, but we do face them twice towards the end of the season, as we were talking about. So
It's akin to trying to figure out what the car in front of you is going to do in rush hour on the Waterson.
right,
You just never know.
yeah,
Let's go ahead and stay on campus, but change the venue of our sports as we'll go to women's soccer. Karen Ferguson Days women's soccer squad that was involved in a match that came down Thursday night. Unfortunately for the Cards, they made the trip to South Bend to face a Notre Dame team that's pretty good. Not the best in the league because the league is so top heavy in women's
yeah,
soccer.
for sure.
But Notre Dame came out and said, you know what? Let's just kind of get this one out of the way early. They scored 37 seconds into the match. They then turned around and scored 3 times in the first half on the Cards. Corbin Albert getting 2 of them for the Irish as the Irish put down Louisville 3-0 up in South Bend. And all 3 of those goals, of course, coming in the first half. Louisville just, let's call it the way it is. If there's an offense out there, I think the missing persons bureau is looking for it because we couldn't find it on one Thursday night, Daryl.
Yeah, that was they kind of got down and stayed down, didn't they? Got kicked right in the head. Um, like you said, it's kind of deflating when the 37 seconds in the opponent scores on you, and then they score again for the 10-minute mark. So Cards trying to dig themselves out of a hole, wasn't able to do it. I think that was expected against this Irish squad. It's been scoring heavily against its recent opponents, and yeah, it's just a notch in the loss belt, and hopefully the Cards able to bounce back after that one.
Yeah, let's hope that they can. Jeff, we have talked a little bit about Louisville employing this 5 defensive back goalkeeper set to try to limit the attack that opposing teams can have on us. One of the things that we did point out is kind of obviously limits what you can do offensively if you play in a
Yeah,
5 DB back.
right. Yeah, like so many sports, when you're focusing on your defense, you sometimes sacrifice a little bit of the offense. You're keeping players back. You don't have as strong of an attack forward, particularly in field sports. Yeah, 5 players across the back is that's a pretty heavy defensive line. Um, and if that's what's needed to keep scorers out of the net a little bit, at least some, and even then still having challenges with it at times, that's definitely a challenge for the team that really needs to be addressed at some point.
I think it does. Maybe Coach Ferguson days needs to maybe redesign that a little bit and get something going. Because quite honestly, I thought that Louisville looked better against Florida State, who's number one in the nation, than they did against Notre Dame on Thursday night. The Cards could not even get a shot going until midway through the second half, and
Mm-hmm.
only taking 4 shots for the entire game. Notre Dame, on the other hand, almost hit 20 with 19 total shots, 9 of them on goal. Poor Gabby Cazellas was back there. I don't think she even had time to check and see if her shoes were tied or not. They had her so busy on goalkeeping duties, and then eventually gave way to Hannah Wise in the second half for the final, I guess, 30 minutes of the game or so. It looked like to me, although no one's been able to confirm this, Gabby may have dinged up one of her paws, one of her hands on a play
Mm.
because she kept kind of pulling on her hand with her other hand like she was trying to pull a knuckle out or something like that. Something was jammed up in the hand, having being a veteran of many jam fingers in my life. Hopefully nothing's wrong with Gabby, but it was actually, Daryl, the first time that Gabby had been pulled from a game since 2019.
Wow. Yeah, you said that, or I was following your all's group chat because again wasn't able to pull the game up on TV. Pretty surprising, but those hand injuries are no joke, especially when your job is to
Yeah.
block, save a goal.
Rarely to actually use your hands on a soccer team. That's not a common thing.
You're a goalkeeper. Yeah, I might as well use my
Yeah.
hands. Why not? Yeah.
Another player digs up their hands like, yeah, whatever, go on.
You don't need it.
Wrap it up.
Just wear a mitt.
Yeah.
Yeah, just you get your oven mitt from your mom, go out there and go, hey,
Yeah.
Who wants
Goalkeeper is
brownies?
a little different story there for
who
sure.
wants brownies? Who wants hot brown?
Yes, I'll take one of each. Thanks.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good actually. But Gabby, of course, has been such a solid rock for the Cards, and in her 6th year, you certainly hope that there's nothing wrong with her. But it was just like open season on duck. They kept firing at poor Gabby,
Yeah.
and she was making some incredible stops and saves. Sure, she gave up 3 goals. Okay, that's going to happen. I'm very thankful that they didn't score 6 goals on us because some of those shots were dead on, and I mean headed right toward the corner of the net or the high top bar of the net, wherever have you. Gabby was making some phenomenal saves, and in credit, she gave way to Hannah Wise in the second half, and then Hannah did a fine job. She didn't allow Notre Dame to score. I think at that point in time, maybe Notre Dame was pretty deep into their reserves, though, and
Kind of
kind of
back at the bus.
getting some players some experience. But a loss for the Cards. It drops them to 7-3-1 overall. That's certainly not bad. 3-2 in conference, which is a good solid 9 points, which kind of puts us, I think, if I read this correctly and remember this correctly, we're in a 3-way tie for 4th place in the ACC,
Mm.
and that's with Virginia.
That is correct.
Wake Forest and Clemson.
Yeah.
Now, we also heard something that we kind of questioned and had a huh response to, where one of the announcers for that match indicated that the women's soccer ACC tournament would only have 6 teams in it. That seems a little low to me, guys.
Did you look it up into that or anything? What was the?
Unfortunately, I did not. I was expecting Jared to jump on that, and he never did, to do the research on it. So if one of you all want to kind of take a diversion there and see.
Clicky right now. So
Yeah, it just seems 6 teams for an ACC conference tournament.
What is it usually? Do you know?
That does appear to be the case, though.
Golly gosh, because
first day is 4 versus 5 and 3 versus 6.
Reason being, do we know? Like,
I don't know.
maybe just not qualified. I'm not sure.
it just seems. At least, why not at least 8 where you can?
Yeah,
have,
kind of a waste of time.
A simple bracket or something like that. But you've got and then what if you've got like a?
This is basically you get number 1 and number 2 get buys in this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure I like that either. But then again, you've got 2 very, very good teams up there, of course, in Florida State, which is, the team that everybody kind of looks at in the ACC women's soccer world and says, Wow. Do we have to play them? Are you sure? Okay, well, can we like say, let's tell them it's at the stadium across town,
Yeah.
and when they show up late, we may have a goal or two by then, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, last year it was an 18 tournament. So this is a little bit of a change. Yes.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, interesting, and I'm not sure I get it. Maybe it's because of the extent of the actual NCAA soccer tournament and
Yes.
how large it is. Maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not positive, but
Hmm.
it it just seems a little lacking to me as far as participants. But the Cards, if you were going to go by stuff like that, would currently be in right now in a three-way tie for fourth. They would make the tournament as of today. Coming up for them, a pretty decent NC State team though. Coming up Sunday that they're going to have to go up against, and then Boston College after that, a team that can be very good. Not ending with anything easy though. On the road at Virginia and Clemson before finishing up just a couple of days before Halloween when they bring Duke. Not a bad
Uh,
women's
I
soccer.
was just looking at NC State's schedule. It looked like they got that overtime win versus Duke in their last match, and they had lost 5 games before that, so they had a little tough stretch there. Should be a little worried about this NC State team.
Yeah, I think that just about anybody in the NCAA or in the ACC causes concern for me, except for maybe Miami and Syracuse. And then I get, take a look. Okay, Miami
Mhm.
is not one of the best teams, but we barely beat them 3-2. Okay, and we were down 2-0 to them. We barely beat Syracuse 2-1. Of course, there's not going to be a whole lot of scoring in soccer. Let's face it. That's an obvious terror.
It's just the nature
But
of the sport. Yeah.
it's just the nature of the sport. But yeah, without looking at the ACC standings, I don't see any top three squads here, except maybe for Virginia. I'm not sure where Virginia's ranked. I do know that Clemson is perennially a top 25 team as well, and we do have to go there. So certainly not an easy road for Karen Ferguson days. But hey, 5 games. Can we pull out 3 of these? Can we pick up 9 more points?
Mm.
The question will remain to be seen, because it used to be a big thing in the ACC women's soccer. You wanted to acquire those points so that you could qualify for the tournament, which is usually 8 or 10 teams. And now, if it's going to
Gotta
be
get
six
more.
teams, yeah,
Yeah.
the points are even more important. And certainly, I don't know. It's kind of like we talked about earlier with volleyball. I don't know what to expect. Which Cardinal team's going to show up, guys? Certainly, though, Daryl. I mean, there's no lack of scorers out there for Karen Ferguson days. I think I heard they had 11 different players who scored this year. But where's that
Besi-
one that you can look to and say, this is our girl? This is the one that we depend on. I haven't found that one yet.
You know who it is? It's Gabby. She's the one that can keep the other team from scoring. So she's the most important, I think.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Uh,
But like you said, still got to have somebody else scoring at the other end. So maybe Gabby can do it. Maybe she work on that long kick.
I've seen crazier things in soccer.
she grabs a shot, she runs it all the way out to midfield, and then takes aim at the goal and then sprints back to the goal. I like the concept of it.
That's where we need Jared to be running behind the other goalkeeper, distracting her.
So we need
She's
Jared
like,
to
"All right, pose. Okay, click.
give me a cheap shot.
Work it, work it, work it.
Act, act like you're diving for the ball.
Look at this way. Look this way."
I think, and I've tried to encourage him to do this, but take Freddie Farmbureau with him to more events where Freddie could be a distraction for the other team in addition to our train.
Just
That
waving at them.
Freddie waving to the other players, running out and trying to get a kick in, midway through the second half. Oh, Freddie's on the field. Wait, he just knocked it over. My gosh, it's that one's gone. So anyway, not an easy road at all for women's soccer, I'm afraid. But unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it is. And yeah, you hope that the Cards can do some good things. They've got 2 in a row at home here: NC State, Boston College. Hopefully, those can be in the W column for Louisville to pick up 6 more points. We'll see how that works out, though. All right, with women's soccer fairly well covered, let's talk about another sport that graces Floyd Street over at the Traeger, and that would be field hockey. Field hockey did not have a match until tomorrow, and boy, what a match they got tomorrow as Michigan at Michigan is the opponent, Daryl. This is kind of a maybe a back game for the Cards after last year and Michigan knocking us out of the NCAA tournament.
It will be a tall order to do so, but I think that they've had the squad has had enough tough opponents to condition them to be able to do so. They've got enough motivation, like you said, with the game last year going into overtime and Michigan stealing it from the Cards, because I'm pretty sure I remember the Cards put up a really good fight against the Wolverines. Was it
This actually came down to penalty kicks, at the end.
it came down to penalties, but if you looked at the stat
Penalty
sheet in
strikes.
regular, it was like the Cards had the higher numbers, right? I can vaguely remember. I felt like they were strong enough to win it, and then it ended up going to overtime, and Michigan pulls it out. So I think this team has the motivation to get this win over another number 2 that they're going to face this year. And if they do, boy, oh boy, that'll be a huge notch for their win column.
It definitely would be so. I think Iowa did the only loss on the Cardinals record this year, and that was certainly
It
one to
was
nothing.
close.
We did actually bring the Hawkeyes in too. Traeger fell 1-0 to him. Had some close matches since then. 1-0 win over Duke. Back-to-back 2-1 double overtime wins over Ohio State and Wake Forest, and then, of course, on Monday, bringing in the Red Hawks from Miami, Ohio, beating them 4-1 pretty easily on that. But yeah, would you look at Michigan's next? There's still UNC on that schedule. Certainly, we know what a great program that Karen Shelton had before she left to go to Duke. And, just kidding there, of course. And of course, JMU, which is always turning out a pretty good soccer program, as the Cards. Just think about this. They've got 5 in a row on the road, Daryl. Wow. 5 in a row on the road.
Yeah, I hope they
It's,
packed enough undies for that trip.
it's, how many rallies free hamburger coupons have you got? I've got 4 left here. Okay, let's see if we can. Jeff, road trips, even 2 in a row, can be taxing on a team sometimes.
Yeah.
We're taking 5 in a row here over a 14-day stretch.
Yeah, you got, basically you got kind of 4 weekends in there, right? I mean, they
10.
travel.
Well, 3
They
weekends,
travel.
sure, yeah.
Well, including tomorrow, they're on the road, right?
Well, that's what I was figuring. Sunday,
Right.
the
Then
10th, and
Friday,
of course-
Sunday, then Friday, Sunday. Okay, 3. Yeah, okay, because then the Syracuse back here, right? Okay. So yeah, I mean that's 3 weekends on a road. That's a long time to be away. I mean, softball does it every year at the beginning of the year. That's just because they need to go find warm weather. But that's a lot of time. There's a lot of time up north too, which is going to be maybe a bit chilly. But it's that's tiring. That much travel, that much not being around your friends and in your classes and all the other things that they have to deal with on the road. It's definitely challenging. It's quite a stretch.
And I think that that UofL fall break, has that already passed? I think that's already passed.
I don't know. I think so.
So I'm just thinking of an academic break for them as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in this road series.
I don't think it is, but then again, I'm not much up on the actual student athlete classroom agendas.
Yeah.
So it could have been there, but the Cards, they looked great against the Red Hawks. and talk about a tough stretch for Miami. They had to play Wake Forest actually on Sunday before having to drive down and play Louisville on Monday at Traeger Stadium. So, boy, that's a quick 24-hour turnaround where you're like jumping out of the fire and going into the frying pan, right? But Louisville get in at 4-1 win. Very, very nice win for the Cards there. We had talked, and I'd asked you a little bit earlier if you had one word to describe a squad. Let's go ahead and go ahead and just apply that to field hockey. If you were going to use one term to describe this field hockey team, one word, what would you use, Daryl?
Ooh, I want to say something. I don't want to say vengeance, but something along those lines. Like they're just ready to get back into the final four. Uh,
Redemption, maybe.
redemption. That's it. Good job, Paul. I
Bingo.
only had one cup of coffee today. But yeah, redemption on this team because if they can get that win, like I said, it's gonna be a huge motivator to finish out the rest of this season, heading into postseason.
Yeah, Jeff, it's a squad that I'm really tickled about in a couple aspects. First of all, we had all kind of assumed that Sam Minrath would start out in goalkeeping and do a
haven't
fine
seen her.
job for us. We haven't seen her yet,
Yeah.
but a great freshman stepping in to take care of that role for us. And also, obviously, Mercedes Pastor graduated and gone, and presumably, I think, playing over in Europe right now in a professional league. You lose your scorer from last year. Where do you turn to? And Justine Coward says she just kind of shrugged her shoulders and said, "I don't know who's going to do it, but we got plenty of candidates. We'll see what happens."
Yeah, and we talked about this in the past a little bit and said, this can be a blessing in disguise in that you're no longer focusing on one player and you say, okay, everybody has to step up, right? You play a spread offense, you spread that out so your one player isn't getting that attention. And I'm comparing it to like volleyball because it's what I know well. And, we've got 6 players out there that are an offensive threat. That keeps the defense of the other team off balance. They don't know where to guard. They don't know where to block. They don't know where to set up to dig, right? And it's similar in field hockey. If you can move that ball around, you get one player in there, and getting a bunch of people on there, you pass the ball out, you pass it to somebody else. The classic basketball analogy: if you're double teamed, somebody else is open, right? It's
Yeah.
if you
Simple
can,
math.
right? Yeah, if you could get the ball to whoever's open, whoever's not being pressured, and they can perform and they can score, then hey, that may be more important. It may be a bigger win than having one dominant player.
One of the things that Justine Sari has kind of prided herself on, and we talked about this a little bit before the broadcast, is she just wants her team to go out basically and play Louisville field hockey. Okay, well, beside the obvious, well, who did you think they were going to play? Bellarmine field hockey, or,
Well, they're playing Michigan field hockey tomorrow because
gee, that's a great idea. When will they play Sacred Heart? We'd like to see that one. No, I'm just kidding there. One of the things that defines Louisville field hockey, I think, though, is the fact that we've been very fortunate to have such a strong defense over the past several years with Hallie Bidding and some of the others that we've had back there turning shots away, Katie Snyder and such. I think the Cards are going to need that and more against Michigan, y'all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A huge shout out to India Reed as well. I've been watching her mostly this season, and I'm pretty sure she played in that match against Michigan last year, so she's got some motivation there. But I watch her on that last defense line before the goalie, and she is huge part of the defense. Don't sleep on India.
Absolutely not. Yeah, she's something else. She's one that can step in there and make a difference as far as breaking up an offensive possession,
Yes,
getting the
she
ball
will.
back in our hands.
I'm ready to get an India jersey. That's how important I think she is.
And certainly telemarketers are standing by, Daryl, to take your call. No.
NIL.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm sure she'd love to hear it.
Looking at the series between the two Michigan and Louisville over the years. Michigan with with a dominating 11-4 lead in the series record overall. The last two meetings between these two have come during the NCAA postseason, as you might well expect. This being a regular season match, obviously coming up, but back in Chapel Hill in the 21 NCAA semifinals, the Cards unfortunately falling in that one, going through two overtime periods before entering a shootout, and then unfortunately, the in the Michigan Wolverines took that shootout to get that win. Uh, Prior to that, of course, the Cards had played them back on 2019 when Bethany Russ, remember that great name from Louisville field hockey, scored a goal in double overtime to take the Cards to a 2-1 win over Michigan to advance us to the NCAA quarterfinals. So certainly tight contest against Michigan. Normally, they're going to be coming into this game 9-0. I'm assuming they beat Northwestern yesterday. I did not get a result on that. I did not find a result on that. That would probably make them 10-0 then. If they did beat Northwestern, number 6 in the nation. Not an easy task for Michigan. He said, hoping that somebody's researching that for him
Yep,
while I
looking.
about it. Yeah.
Well, another
Yes, Michigan did win in double overtime, it looks.
Wow.
So, yeah, let's see. It was Michigan scored in the first quarter, Northwestern in the fourth, and then, yeah, second overtime, which is, of course, called goal in field hockey. So, yeah. Exciting one, it sounds like.
Yeah, double overtimes are always interesting to see, for sure, unless you are.
Hopefully, it wears them out a little more for the
Right?
Cards.
Right?
That they're tired Wolverines. That's the
Yeah.
best thing we can hope for.
Some tired legs out there.
Yeah, because the Cards were off since Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a good break.
Oh, yeah,
And
I'm sure they're itching.
a noon start for this one as well, so not the luxury of sleeping in for an evening game or anything for them. They're right back at it less than, I would say, 36 hours after playing a previous
That's good
match.
news.
So yeah, hopefully it'll be in Louisville's advantage there a little bit. We'll see. The Cards, of course, number 3 in the latest National Field Hockey Coaches Association poll, and a win here could probably bump us up there to second for sure. We'll hope the best for Louisville in this one, as coming out of that tough ACC conference, where all 7 ACC teams, gang, are in the top 25.
Wow.
Conference excellence. Other things to talk about here before we get into some final thoughts. Softball was in its fall season yesterday over at Ulmer Stadium, where the Cards brought in crosstown rival and D1 foe,
That's right.
Bellarmine.
Now.
Bellarmine made a game of it for a while. The Cards actually, at one time, were only leading them 5-4 in this exhibition scrimmage. The Cardinals got at the bats, and I think when Jared left to go take photos, he was out there taking some shots of softball before he went to volleyball. It was 9-4 Louisville. So we're assuming that
Nice.
obviously the win for Holly April came pretty easy. Hopefully got a chance to work a few pitchers in this one. And I'm excited for softball season. I'm ready to get it started again. And I know as a former player there and certainly one that knows softball quite well, this is going to be a Cardinal team that there's some questions on. Celine Funky gone, obviously, but Taylor Roby back.
Oh yeah, the ace Taylor Roby, and then you've got Carmen Greenwood, the I think 5th year by now outfielder out there, so she'll probably move around. I'm thinking she would move to center field for to take Celine's spot, but you never know who else stands out for the squad. I love fall ball. I think it's a great, just kick off to the winter workouts and conditioning for the squad and the holiday season. It just kind of all flows together and gets the team excited for the spring.
Indeed, sir. And then, Jeff, today out there, they have the red and black scrimmage.
Tomorrow. But yeah.
Or tomorrow, where a fan can actually go sit behind the third base line, cheer for one team, and then in the inning break, run over behind the first base line and cheer
That's
for the
right.
other team.
Yeah. I mean, this is always the red and black scrimmages are always fun. It's fun in volleyball. It's fun in softball. Just to see the players out there, they have fun with it because they all know each other. They all are friends and friendly. So it's a lot of fun to see this sort of intra squad play where they can have a fun rivalry, kind of, right? Yeah,
Indeed.
Yeah,
kind of
at
a
each other.
faux pride in a team, right?
The catcher can talk smack under there, or
Right,
the
right.
infielders with whoever's on base. Yeah.
Yeah,
Put the shift on. All kinds of fun stuff.
right.
Red and black. All right, we've covered a lot of things today, and it's time for us to kind of roll into some final thoughts here. As my gosh, the hour has just flown by here on the podcast, and I'll go ahead and start at final thoughts and give you all a chance just to kind of collate and get yours together. A good friend of mine, somebody that I've attended football with for many years as a member of the parish house, the House of Cards, a guy I've known for 20 plus years, unfortunately, has been admitted to Nazareth Home. He's, as you can imagine, a little bit elderly. He had lost his wife several months ago, and it's just gotten to the point basically where he is unable to kind of take care of the daily stuff that he needs to anymore. My
No.
thoughts go out to Dr. Jim, and a friend of mine went to go visit him. Dr. Jim was always kind of a roundabout kind of crazy kind of guy. A friend went to go visit him the other day and couldn't find him. He looked in his room. He looked in several of the social areas. Dr. Jim was nowhere to be found. He found out later on that he had gone for a hike in the woods. So there you go.
Just
Keep it
casual.
rolling, Dr. Jim. I'm happy for you. I hope that things turn out well for you.
Oh.
I miss you not serving me double shots of Woodford on a bus. Enough on that. All right, Jeff, what you got on me?
Yeah, we didn't want to talk about this as part of the main show, but I do want to make mention of the situations going on in the NWSL. If people aren't aware of it, let's pay attention to that just a little bit. It's a bit of a downer. It's not to join excitement, but there's been some turmoil on several teams, and Racing Louisville here in Louisville has been somewhat brought into that on the topics of sexual harassment and other things. And the NWSL Players Association is taking a very strong stand on this and getting traction on it. To their credit, there's been some turnover in the upper echelons of the NWSL, as well as some coaches in a couple of teams, including Racing Louisville, that may or may not be related to this issue, but in the past. So, I guess some thoughts on it's a great league. There's some great soccer play there. Some really great women out there doing amazing things, and let's cheer them on and be supportive. Racing played one of the teams that was particularly involved in this on Wednesday. They played the other one today, I think. That's particularly involved in some of this turmoil. So, give some thought to them. It's a challenging time for these players. So
let's hope that they can get these things worked out for sure.
Yeah.
Daryl, what you got?
I couldn't really think of anything to wrap up with, but Jeff kind of got me rolling on that topic just because it's something that I think is super important.
Absolutely.
And I've been reading a lot on just former abused individuals that have written books and just their perspective on everything. And, just having my own personal experiences. This is a very important topic, and people need to be aware of the signs of abuse and manipulation. And, in the sport industry, that it could get really, really fuzzy because of how important sports are to people and the way that the coaches and people in power can hold certain incentives over players' heads in exchange for favors is just a huge problem, and it needs to be addressed because it's just it dominoes every part of these people's lives that it affects. And yeah, we just need to get a better grasp on these people getting in these roles in our sport world and hold them accountable, because it seems like some of these people who get found out about, they just kind of fizzle out, or they just move on to the next place, and they do the same cycle all over. So yeah, we really need to get a grasp on these people and not let them be in positions of power.
Agree wholeheartedly. There's one of our readers likes to put in his sign line at the end of comments, Curtis, be kind,
Yeah.
Franklin.
For
And I
Yeah.
think that's something that we could all use an example of. Or as Glenn Campbell said many years ago, try a little kindness
Mm.
and you'll be surprised how far that can go.
Mm.
Why don't you practice that this weekend, folks? We appreciate you jumping in for this podcast. And certainly, unless you know something we don't, we'll see you here next week at 11 a.m. on the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Go